Welcome and Jai Baba to all. We are gathering here today to celebrate Dolly, Dastur, who was the wife of our dear Jal Dastur. Dolly, with her present nature and her love for Baba, is familiar to a lot of us. She traveled with Jal to countries outside of India to share their stories of being with Baba through their loving stories. Our dear Dolly, along with her mother Suna Masi engineer, had Baba's darshan perhaps for the first time based on the information in Lord Meher at the age of 6. About Dolly Dastur, I'm sure we would like to listen straight from our special guests, Jal and Shridhar, but it goes without saying that any stories you have of Dolly that you have personally experienced or heard about would be most welcome. I mean, this is to all the participants here. Uh,
All right.
just
Hello.
1 second, Jalji, 1 second. Uh, our dear Jal, in his service to Baba, has taken many roles over the years. He has been a trustee of Avatar Meher Baba Charitable Trust from 1980 till the February of 2019. Well, not much need to be said about his service to our dear compassionate father. Here is one little anecdote between Baba and Jal that took place in the year 1957. So Baba asks Jal and Dolly, "Do you ever quarrel?" Jal replied, "At times." Then, "Let me see how you fight." That's what Baba says. And they all had a great laugh. But Dolly's mother, Sunamasi, said, "They don't quarrel, Baba. Jal is a very good man." Well, coming from a mother in law, that speaks volumes about our dear Jal. And now, about our humble Sridhar Kelkar ji. A few words about him, who needs no special introduction to many of us. He is the current chairman of Avatar Meher Baba Trust in India since 2013. Well, work is worship. That is what Sridhar exemplifies through his work and love for Baba. He learned about Meher Baba in 1962 through his wife, Parvez Talati, daughter of Dina and Newell Talati. That said, we'll have Jal and Sridhar talk about our dear Dolly. Also, after they speak, please feel free to share any stories the audience may have regarding Dolly. To share your stories, please raise your hand and you'll be prompted uh, to share your story.
Huh?
To raise,
Okay.
yeah, 1 second. To raise your hand, please use on a PC Alt and Y. On a Mac, you would do Option and Y. On a smartphone and tablet, use More or three dots on the top right. On a landline, you would press star 9. And on new Zoom versions, you can use reactions icon and raise your hand. Well, Jalji, the mic is all yours. Sridharji will go
Okay,
after.
boss.
Avatar Meher.
Now tell me.
Go,
Hello.
go ahead,
Tell
Jalji.
me.
Yeah.
Tell me as to what is here in Malabar. Because in order to give you a real resume of what is happening in Malabar, for last uh, 3 months, we have lost
Jalji,
five of
if I may interrupt, can you just move back a little bit because then we
yeah,
can see you in full. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, a little more.
five,
Yeah, that's great.
five
That's
of
perfect. Thank you.
five of our very best friends in Malabar here. Now, when you are talking about Dolly, one good thing is with me. When we used to, some years back, when we were in Bombay, and when we used to have some uh, party or something, and people would say, "Jal, did you get any dowry um, from Dolly?" So I said, no, nothing doing. But then Dolly says, I have given you Baba, which was really a true thing that he gave me, and which is why I'm here today. Otherwise, I don't know where I would have been. Another thing is, Dolly, I think Baba was all the time, on side of Dolly. You know why? Because sometimes I would just go out and she would say, take an umbrella, it might rain. And I said, no, what is this bright sunshine and all? But yes, it would happen that way. It would happen. So she had that kind of, I don't know why, but she was the one who had that foresight of all the things. Well, 4 years have passed. 4 years. 4 years have passed, and where they've gone, I don't know. But I still remember her all the time. Not only that, we have a sort of a shrine here outside our house. And I don't know why somebody gave us the whole arti of Dolly when she was leading um, um, uh, at the Baba Samadhi. And I'm so grateful that this lady took everything, and today it is one of my prized things to be. And whenever I get her, O Parvadigar prayer, I am just, I just don't know what to do. But I have a real good feeling that she was there all the time with Baba, and she has done a good thing. 1 minute. Shridhar would now, please.
Hey Baba, thank you all for arranging this meeting today. Hello. Hello. Who's you?
Jai Baba Shridhar.
Hey Baba, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Very much.
I'm thankful to you all for arranging this meeting today in honor of our dear Dolly, remembering her. No words are enough to remember her. She was the first, I would say, Baba person I met after I decided to marry Parviz. And Jal and Dolly were the first friends which I had in Baba world. That is why, hello. So they are very precious to me because of that. And our friendship has been there for so many years. And when I moved to Mehrabad, Dolly said, every evening you must come here for dinner. And since then I have been having my dinner whenever in Mehrabad at this place, at Jazz place. And she was a wonderful person. And great friends, especially Parviz and Dolly. They are young children. in Baba's contract, they used to be together always. And that is how they had a very long-lasting friendship, both of them, and which, after I got married, I got a chance to share that friendship with them, both of them. Hello?
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Shridharji,
Yeah.
we can hear you. Yeah. Jai Baba. Please continue.
Hello?
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Shridhar.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Jai Baba. Please continue, Shridharji.
Beautiful picture.
Can you hear me?
He's muted. Prakash, he's muted. I'm there.
Okay, 1 second. Let me unmute him.
That's what I was telling, say since Parvi is my wife, late wife, and Dolly, they were friends. After we got married, we became very close friends, I would say. Both of us with Jal and Dolly. And there are so many, especially Dolly was a godmother for our children. Both my children loved Dolly more than us. Always, whenever they met, they would rush to Dolly, Dolly auntie, Dolly auntie. They will ignore their parents because she was so loving and they loved her so much. I think once somebody asked Baba, why don't you give Dolly and Jal children? And Baba said, I'll give them so many. And really, all over the world today, there are youngsters, many youngsters, they look after them as their mummy and daddy, I would say. And that is the most beautiful thing, even though they don't have their own child. All these nieces and everybody, my daughter, they love more, I would say, Jal than me many times. I feel envious of them. And this is just because of Dolly, because Dolly was so loving with them all the time. She used to be strict also, but the same loving also. It was both ways. She would discipline them and they would accept her discipline. Sometimes they would not accept our discipline, but they would accept whatever Dolly says. They will never say no to her. That was the relationship, beautiful relationship with the two families, I would say. And even today also, Jal's nieces, Dolly's nieces rather, whenever they come here always, my daughter also keeps on coming at least once in a month to meet both of us. She says, I'm not coming just to meet you alone, but I want to meet Jal also equally. And that is how the friendship has lasted. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Shridhar, could you possibly move your camera? Can you see your own face on the screen?
Hello?
Because you're cut
Can you
off
see
from
me?
the nose down.
The
Only
camera is off?
we see you, we see the top half of your face.
Can you see me now?
No,
No.
not at all.
Now?
Yes.
The camera is on, I believe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we see your clock more than your face.
Ah, there you are.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
better.
can you see now?
Yes. That's better.
This angle. Yeah. One of my memories about when Dolly passed away. In fact, I was sitting with her, holding her. She had held my hand very tight, and then I had some work. So I told Dolly, I have to go away for 15 minutes. I'm going away and coming back. And somehow or other, I loosened her grip, put her hand down, and I left. And when I came back after 15 minutes, she already joined Baba. So somehow or other, I don't know whether it is because Baba wanted me to be away when she went to Baba and he induced me to go away for 10-15 minutes. I do not know what happened, but This is that is my ever I regret in my life always is this. Why did I do that? Why did I go away for 15 minutes? Because at the last moment, I was not with her. These are the beautiful pictures you are showing. Wonderful. So she was really a great friend, I would say. And we always miss her. Dolly, want to say?
Jai Baba, Shridharji and Jalji, between both of you, you have a lot of time to talk about
Yes,
your auntie. Please go ahead.
but now that he has given this, she always used to tell these little ones when they were really very young, and I still remember it was in Mehrabad. It was in Mehrabad that she started telling us to learn to suffer.
Learn to suffer. Yeah.
Learn to suffer. That's
Learn
right,
to
Jalaji.
suffer. Yeah. And that was it. That was
So one day my daughter cut her finger, and I said, "We'll put some little turmeric." So Dolly said, "No, put some chili powder." She started screaming. She said, "If Dolly auntie puts the chili powder, it will burn so much. So you should learn to suffer." And my daughter still remembers that. Even today also she says, "Learn to suffer, learn to suffer." And I don't know. This is something we always remember about her. This phrase, "Learn to suffer."
learn to suffer. And I tell you that from 12th of January 17, she really did that. Learn to suffer. And she was the one who would not give any thing, for her suffering and all that. But she used to suffer so much. And at the last, on 7th April, when we were told by Dr. N not to give her anything and all that, I was really surprised as to what is going to happen. And that was but yes, but I should say,
Yeah. Are, what's happening, boss? Pachu suthi, And Are. I link I judge. Yeah.
but she had given a promise to us that my niece Marangis is going to come here at Mehrabad at 4, and with her husband and all that. She met them just by having that, and that was it. And at 5:05, she got away to beloved Baba. Yeah, that is it. She was always to her words. Yes, to her words also. I will tell you one more thing. Whenever there was some party or something, we always, because Nariman and Annavas, whenever we used to have party, we always used to have Baba's Aarti and this and that and all that. So later on, when we came to have the Aarti, and Dolly would say just one thing, beloved God, and that was it. She was so very precious, and to say that this is one of the best thing that Baba has given us. This was it.
So Jai Baba, to everybody, thank you very much. Hello?
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Please go ahead. We are
Jai Baba.
going to watch.
Please continue, Shridharji.
So good to see you and hear you, Jai Baba.
Oh, we lost them perhaps. I don't see them here. Jai Baba. Shridharji. Oh, there you are. Jai Baba. We don't see your
Jai
picture,
Baba.
but we should be able to hear you. Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now
Can
it's
you see
good.
now? Sorry,
It's-
something is going wrong with my mobile.
Okay. We can see you both. I mean, it can be a little better.
Yeah, hello? Hello?
Jai Baba, we can see you both and hear you. Now, no more. Not anymore. Yeah. Say something, Jalji. We are able to see you. I'm not sure if you're saying anything at this time. We
Once
cannot.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let us have
Now very good.
next.
Jai Baba. I think I made a mistake. I should have asked somebody expert to come here and start my laptop. I thought I was able to join. Sorry. Okay, next time we'll do it better
You're
job.
doing fine.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, so grateful that you're here. Thank you so much. Jai Baba.
Yeah, now we are okay. Shridharji, please continue.
They're,
Money,
it's funny, these people don't
that's
have too
money
much
to join.
knowledge. You just,
That's money
someone's
to join.
having trouble with their computer, they just go on to somebody else.
Mehnat.
Shridharji, please go ahead. I think you should be fine now, it appears. We can see you. Jai Baba. Jai Baba, Shridharji. Jai Baba. Hello? Jai Baba.
Hey, Prakash, maybe some other people might continue sharing and they
Yeah,
can listen in until they get their
yeah.
computer together.
Great
Yeah.
thought. Great thought, Jeff. That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, anybody who has some stories to share about Dolly and with Dolly, please raise your hand and we can go till Sridhar and Jal can come back. Jai Baba. Anybody. Maybe, Jeff, if you have some stories, maybe you can start it off.
Well, I haven't thought of anything yet. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, she was always so faithfully there at the tomb and for all of us, and she remembered everybody's name and always gave presents, cloths from the tomb when we left. Wonderful, pure soul. But I'll see if I can think of something. But did James Cox weigh in? He spent a lot of time with her.
Oh, we have somebody here. Dana, please go ahead. Dana Ferry, please unmute yourself and continue.
Okay. Am I
Great.
unmuted?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're good.
Just two short things. The first thing I remember about Jal and Dolly is that they used to meet all our planes when we came in the early 70s. They would meet our planes at 2 o'clock in the morning or whenever we came in, and sometimes bring us to their house and feed us. And one time they put me on my plane, and I was scared because I had a guitar and I wasn't sure they were going to let the guitar on the plane. And they said, just don't look at the guitar, don't say anything about it, just take Baba's name and they'll let you on, and they did. But the other thing I remember specifically about Dolly was when we were seated at the tea table with Mara in those early days. I remember her being there and her giving her seat to us. And I remember thinking, I wonder if I'll ever be able to do that. She deferred to us new ones, sort of pushing them out of the way. She was so considerate that way, so loving, as you said, always so loving. And she continued in that way. So just so sweet and loving. Those are the two things that really stand out about the early days for me. And that never waned, that consideration and sweetness. She was always making room for us new ones. And I realized here as a person who's so much closer to Baba than we are, so much closer to the Mandali than we are, standing aside for this new hordes coming in. So thoughtful. And it was, obvious that would please Baba very much. And I thought, would I ever be able to do that? Probably not. But something to aspire to. Jai Baba, that's all I have for just right now.
Thanks.
I can't hear you, Prakash.
Oh, sorry, I muted myself. Thank you very much, Dana. Thoughtful and loving, that's what she was.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? I don't see any hands at this time. But if you have any story, go ahead. And there we have Marvin and Michelle. I mean, they had raised their hands temporarily.
Yeah,
Marvin?
it wouldn't stick. I don't know why. Jay Baba, I don't know what year it was. Jal and Dolly came to Chicago to our Midwest Sahavis, and they stayed with us, and we had the pleasure of spending beautiful time with the both of them. And I just remember her grace and her loving. She was so beautiful and so loving. And in India in particular, she taught me how to wrap a sari. I have a picture of me with Erit in this beautiful blue sari that she showed me how to wrap. And just how they opened their home to tea to all the pilgrims. And served puffed rice and shared stories of tea with Mara and those of us who missed that. She always had puffed rice. But back to Chicago, Marvin remembers.
We took a drive down to the University of Chicago and went to Rockefeller Chapel. And we're sitting in the chapel.
That's a Jal story, but that's
it's
okay.
It's a Jal story.
But it's so sweet.
We're sitting in the chapel and it's completely quiet. There's no one there. Maybe 5 people maximum, and we were 4. So there wasn't anyone else there. It was not like a touristy thing. and we're sitting there, and we sat there for quite some time, about 10, 20 minutes. And then I motioned to Jal that we should get up and leave. And he said, "No, wait 1 minute." And so we continued to sit and look around and look at the different things in the chapel. It's a very high ceiling, a very sort of, wow, it's a throwback in terms of a church. It's a very, very high ceiling. It's a beautiful church inside. Anyhow, a man walks in and sits down at the organ and starts to play, and plays a song all the way through. And it was just amazing because it was such a vibration to it from this empty chapel. And then he went about his work, which was to tune the organ. And Jal looked at me and says, "Now we can go." And then he turned back to me and said, "It's funny, I was sitting there and thinking how beautiful it would be if we listened to some music." And then he smiled.
And then after we went to Navy Pier, I guess, but we walked along Olive Park, and there's a little beach there, and Dolly wanted to put her hands in the water. I'm not sure if it's true that Baba put his feet in Lake Michigan, but she wanted to touch the water everywhere she went. That was one of the things she wanted. But anyway, thank you, Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba Jal. So much love.
Beautiful.
Jai
What a
Baba.
touching story.
Dolly was everybody's godmother. She was definitely mine. Definitely mine. And all of us, so many of us. Her heart was so big. She had room for us all. Jai Baba.
Wonderful. Beautiful. What a touching story, Marvin and Michelle. Love it. There you are. Now, Shailaja has a story to share.
Jai Baba Jal ji and Shridhar ji. Two things I remember very fondly about Dolly ji. This was way back in the 90s when they visited New Jersey. I'm not quite sure which year that was, but they visited Dawn and Margaret Euchre at their residence here in Cedar Grove. And our kids were very little back then. So we got there a little late for the gathering, and Dolly ji and Jal ji were already there. And when we reached there, they were so happy to see us. You know, it was like they receiving us, and they made us feel like we were the chief guests over there. That was so beautiful. They came and gave us hugs, and they hugged our children, and they held our hands, and Dolly kissed my hands. Mwah, 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 so sweet. So that was very touching, very sweet. And another thing I remember about her is how she conducted prayers at the Samadhi every morning when we went for Aarti. So we all would get a chance to clean the Samadhi, and she would direct and guide all of us. So when I got my turn, I went into the Samadhi, and she gave me this cloth asking me to clean Baba's tomb. And while I was doing that, I rested my other hand on the tomb for support. And when I did that, she said, "No, no, 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 you can't do that. You you can't put your weight on Baba's tomb. That's not respectful. Put your hand down and just very gently clean the tomb." And she was telling me how to do it, and I felt, oh my gosh, she this is the right way to do things. Every little thing has to be taken care of. And she was such a good guide and so sweetly she would tell everybody to do the right thing in the samadhi. So that was very beautiful. I remember that very fondly. Jai Baba.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Shailaja. I see a bunch of hands. Maybe I bypassed you in letting Shailaja speak first. Sorry about that. And we now have Wendy. Wendy, please unmute yourself and go. Sorry.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba, Jal and Shridhar. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Like everyone, lots of memories for sure. Dolly and Jal came to our house in 2004. We live in Canada. We live out in the country. And I remember when Dolly first came in the door and we were kind of settling, and she said, I just want you to be as natural as possible and do the things that you would normally do so we get to experience your life, the foods you eat, what you would do in a day. So we did our very best to do that. This is a bit of a Jal thing. We have a sit-down tractor, and Jal was moving around the lawn with the tractor, and he just thought that was so much fun. And Dolly kind of looked as if to say, you know, that's the child side of Jal. And it was so much fun. We laughed. And then we went out for the day, and we went to see my children, two of my children. And Jal and Dolly got to hold one of our grandsons. And then we went off for dinner, or lunch, I guess it was. And we took them to an Indian reserve not far from where we live. And we had, I forget the food that we ate exactly, but Joel and Martin had the world's hottest hot sauce. And Joel was quite fascinated with it. And the two of them were on fire with a Canadian hot sauce. And I remember Dolly and I laughing. We thought that was so much fun. So we came back to the house, and then my other son came with his son, who was quite small still, and he had never spoken. And Dolly was at the table, not far from him. And out of the blue, first words he ever said, and looked over at Dolly and went, Jai Baba. And it was just, she was so happy that he had done that. And of course, so were we. But they just were so natural and so loving, and like everybody else, they were our godparents, and so grateful. And Dolly taught me, no matter what happens, good, bad, or indifferent, to always say, thank you, Baba. Thank you, Baba. So most grateful. Jai Baba. Thank you for listening.
Jai Baba. What a story, Wendy. Yeah, thank you, Baba, for everything. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And now I'm going by the order I see here. Sorry if the order is not the same as when the hands were raised. In the order I see here, I see Meher Chand. Jai Baba Meher Chand.
Can you hear me out, Prakash?
Yeah, yeah.
Jai Meher Baba. Our entire family, NORI family, was very close to Jal uncle and Dolly auntie. Jai Meher Baba, Jal uncle, Jai Meher Baba, Shridhar uncle, Jai Baba to everyone. It so happened we know Jal and Dolly. We used to see during Baba's in Guru Prasad meeting, but we have never had a confrontation till they shifted to from Bombay to Mehrabad. They moved to Mehrabad in 1980, and I was become little close to them from 82 onwards. They used to stay near the behind the trust office. That is, I think, Donkin cabin or something that where they used to stay. And the three trustees used to stay in the same place, like Shah, Dadi Kerewala, used to stay there, and Jimmy Mestri and Jal, all the three trustees. I used to had a nice time with them, especially Dolly. She was, before she came to this thing because of the cat, she also worked in Japanese consulate with because Katie has took her and joined her in the Japanese consulate, and she had a nice time with the Katie, and she spent a lot of time with the Katie also. And she used to share the stories at that time of the the Japanese council to me and everyone. And both Jal and Dolly are lovely couple, and they are good hosts. They invite everyone to come for the coffee at 4 o'clock in the evening. They used to call us. It so happened in 1983 when Dolly and Jal came from the Bangalore for this Bairamangala Sahwas. She expressed to me, Merchant, Baba told me to visit Kovur, but unfortunately we have not been to the Kovur for a long time. Can we make it? I said, okay. From Bangalore, and while traveling from Bangalore to Madras, there was a program in Chennai. And from Chennai, we then thought of going to Vijayawada, from Vijayawada to Kovur. Her heart is so pure and so this thing, she used to help people. They have one incident which touched me so much. While coming from Bangalore to Madras, there was one girl, she was married to someone in Bangalore, and she's going to her in-laws to mother's place. And she was traveling all alone. Then the in-laws of her and her husband came to Dolly and said, first time she's traveling, so why don't you guide her, we help her. And I said, we are not aware of the Madras city a lot. No, she knows her house, but you kindly guide her. See that she should be, after reaching the station, put her in the taxi stand so that she'll take care of herself. But unfortunately, the train got delayed, and it was delayed by 5 hours. So then Dolly auntie said, Merchant, we have promised that couple, so we should take her to their place. That girl is not a Bible lover, but in spite of that, Dolly said, no, I promised her, I have to take her. So we, myself, Dolly, went along with that girl to a place called that called Shaukar Pet. That is called Tambushetti Street or something that was. So we took her and handed over to their parents. From there, with the program was supposed to be at 5 o'clock, from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. By the time we reached Andhra Yuthi Mandali, it was around 5:30 or something in the evening. It was staggered. But still, we can able to make out. That shows our commitment for a promise she made to this thing. She was very, 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 very affectionate, especially with most of us. She used to treat like kids. From there, we went to Vijayawada. From Vijayawada, we made a house visit. And that time there was no cell phone or no communication except for landline. And everybody got surprised when we three were visited Vijayawada by ourselves. And then we got down in the Vijayawada station, went to the waiting room, dressed ourselves. From there, we went to Manikal Rao place. From Manikal Rao place we went to some place. Then they realized that we have come, we don't have transport. So Dr. Krishna Rao and Sharada Garu, they provided with the transport. From there we went to Elur and visited. From there we went to Kovur. From Kovur to Kovur, she was very happy when visited. She was invited at the Kovur by Jagadamba. That time she was a caretaker for the Kovur center. She has, and Dolly is fond of coconut water and Tadgolas. So those things were fed to her, so she was happy. She never takes used to have food or something, and from there we went to Vyas Rao. From there we took her to a marriage of Dr. Vasudev's younger brother Shravan's wedding was there that time. We met all Babalavas. They were surprised to see Jal and Dolly. They are like unexpected guests. They are like unexpected guests, and they were from there. Dolly auntie and myself, we went to all the places in Andhra, including my birthplace at Mastipatnam. And then after coming to Mehrabad, she was called to Mehrabad to assist the women mandali also. Especially, she will always be with Mera Mai during the coffee and or at the tea time, to handing over tea to the ladies who are present there at the uh, Merazad. You know, those days Merazad was used to open for 4 days. So in those for this thing for tea and all that, she used to help. And she is also a very voracious reader. She used to read whatever she finds. Merchant, I find this. Do you have that copy? Yes. Then she used to say, okay, give me a copy. So she read Meher messages, Meher journal, Meher gazette, and all those things. She used to write meticulously, and she used to do a lot of things, editing work and all that. Nobody knows about her talent, about the book reading and all that. And she was very meticulous at the prayer. At prayer, she was very strict, and she says, you should treat samadhi not lightly. You should take Baba as if Baba is there and Baba is taking rest, and you are not supposed to lean to morals or to the samadhi on this thing. She used to teach us how to clean that, wipe with the cloth she used to give, or the sponge she used to give. Very meticulous and very this thing. And then we, myself and my family, and along with Dolly, Dolly, Jal, and Kusum, Mokam, and twins to the Australian Savas in 1988. And they were there at that time. We had a nice time with them, and lot of this thing even during. And we don't know how we booked the tickets, but we used to travel everywhere. We used to travel in the when we used to arrive at the airport, we used to see them. They used to say, which flight you are traveling? Where we used to travel in the same flight. We had a nice time with them, and then right from then afterwards, she took a lot of care, and she's taken care of Mantari. When Mantari was this thing, she used to take care of the Samadhi, and she also trained Amrit Didi for the training up, which now that's the reason she has become very, very this thing meticulous about the Samadhi duties. They used to say, oh, Dolly's auntie is very meticulous. If I do mistake, she'll bash me up. She used to say like that, Didi. And but the affection she used to say, she always used to show me. She used to give me, feed me at and Meherchandi. If I stay 2 days also or one day also, I should visit at 4 o'clock to that place. And she was so fond of to feeding me with the Puna Faluda. Faluda is a rose milk with Faluda and Sevai and all that. She used to give me a lot. And both the couple and Jali and Doll, whom I miss now a lot. There are many incidences which take place, and she is so fond of even Anil's cooking. And Ram was very close to Jal, and luckily fortunate enough to have closeness with that family. And with this word, I take leave of you, Avtar Meher Baba Ki Jai. I thought James Cox will know better than me, and he should have talked. Avtar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Wow, Madchand, that's a lot of a bunch of stories there in what you shared with us. Thank you very, very much, Jai
And
Baba.
one thing she liked the song. Whenever I was there at Samadhi, she says, Madchand, if you can able to sing me Jejelu, sing. So I used to sing that song for the sake of this thing. And last occasion also, 2 days back, I sang for this thing Jejelu. She's so fond of that song.
Right.
Avtar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Thank you. And now we'll go with Al. Al, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone in India here and all around the world. I'm so happy to see so many familiar faces, and especially Shridhar and Jal. They're still on, I don't know. But anyway, I have many fond memories of Dolly, of course, and Jal. The years I went to India, I'd always take a batch of Baba buttons to Mani, but I'd always have a smaller one for Dolly that she loved to pass around. And I always went for Amratithi and Baba's birthday. So, as you know, a couple of days after Baba's birthday, they always had their anniversary, and Alan would make a really incredible meal, and Jal would always sing "Hello, Dolly," although I don't think he ever learned all the words. But they knew how to arty and they knew how to party. And one of my fondest memories is I was hospitalized for about 4 or 5 days. And if any of you have been hospitalized in India, you know how important it is to have visitors. Anyway, on my last day, unbeknownst to them, they were my last 2 visitors. So I got a chance to ride back to the MPC with them. And I don't know how, but they managed to get me a hospital discount. They knocked a couple of thousand rupees off of my bill. So I always look forward to visiting with Dolly and Jal. And even now, I'm so happy that Jal has her tomb right there in the front yard. We can all still visit both of them when we go. So Jay Bob and everyone, have a wonderful day, and thank you.
Wow, wonderful.
All.
Al, beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now we'll go with Tina, fairy godmother, Jai Baba.
Yeah, I remember when Jal and Dolly came to New York, and we went with them to this Broadway show. It was The Secret Garden, which is based on a children's book about this little boy whose mother had died, but she came back as a ghost into his secret garden. And I just remember that Dolly was just so excited, and she was very childlike in her appreciation of that show, and she just was thrilled to be at a Broadway show. And then afterwards, we went down to Chinatown with James Cox and Catherine, and we went to a Chinese restaurant, and she was just had a kind of innocence and sweetness. And I really appreciated being in her presence. And as for Jal, he was the first person that I met when I came to India with the society in the 70s. And he was very welcoming and warm. And, somebody's not muted. I think Al. Can you mute him? Anyway, so another time I was coming back from India, and I didn't know that I was supposed to confirm my reservation. I thought it was all set. So when I got to the travel office in Bombay, they said, oh, there are no seats on the plane, madam. No seats, no seats. And I didn't know what to do, because here I was in the middle of a strange city. And so I sat there and I chanted Baba's name for a while. And then I remembered that Jal had said, if you have any travel difficulties, phone me up because I'm in travel. And so I called him, and he said, oh, no, madam, no, you got to bribe them. So he said, that's why they're saying there are no seats, because they want you to bribe them. So I had no idea. But anyway, he pulled some strings and I didn't have to bribe them. And when I got on the plane, there were plenty of empty seats. So I was very grateful to him for that. Jai Baba.
Wow, Tina. That's beautiful. Thank you very, very much. Wonderful story there. And then we'll go to Jamie Newell, Jai Baba.
Hi, Jay Baba. Which can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So yeah, Zoe had to walk the dog, so she would join me in this. But we in 1981, we went with Jal and Dolly and Rhoda and Alaba to Andhra, to a big opening of the Andhra Center in a small village called Kankal. And Robert Dreyfus came and Peter Booth, and it was a big group. And so there's lots of stories from that. And I was hoping Zoe has some good stories from that. She's, like I said, she had to walk the dog, so she's signed off for a minute. But one story I want to share that was very meaningful to me. In probably that trip, someone mentioned a trip in the 90s, and it must have been then. We were in Nashville, Tennessee, and Jal and Dolly came to see us. Just there was no big group there or anything, but there were a few people. There was a meeting, but they came and we gave them a tour of Nashville. They wanted to see Nashville. And of course, in Nashville, there are all these recording studios. And there's this old studio where Elvis Presley used to record, and Jim Reeves did all of his song. He did Welcome to My World in this studio. It's called Studio B, and they give tours of this studio because it's an old studio. So I said, well, do you want to see where, Jim Reeves recorded Welcome to My World? And they said, oh, yes, it was Bob's favorite song. So they were excited. So we saw a lot of different sites in Nashville, but we went to this studio, and it's this room, long room with different musical instruments. And there was this one piano where these old country music songs, they have what they call honky tonk piano, and they take thumbtacks and they put them on all the pads on the piano. So it has this kind of clinky honky tonk sound, they call it. And also there's this podium and a microphone there, and all the singers, everybody from Elvis to Jim Reeves, everybody would stand in the spot. There's a place in the carpet worn where all these famous singers would have come over many years, standing in this spot and singing. And we said, there it is. That's where Jim Reeves, that's the very spot where he sang Welcome to My World. And we were thinking about that. And as we're looking around, and there's a tour guide going around, and all of a sudden in my ears, I hear the Gujarati Arti on the honky tonk piano. Dolly knew how to play the piano, and she played the Gujarati Arti in the recording studio right next to where Jim Reeves had been. And it just gave me chills. So there's many, like everybody, just love Doll and Jolly, as we call them, Jol and Dolly. And Dolly's just always been sweet and generous, and many, we called them the board meetings. After Artie would go to a board meeting, Dolly would serve toast and garlic toast and snacks, and there would be some illicit beverages, and we would all have a wonderful time, and just always perfect hosts and hostesses. And I was fortunate to see her the last time in 2018. I was there, and I said, Dolly, and they were told her she had to stay still. She couldn't go anywhere. She shouldn't be doing anything. But she would never stop. She was all around the house, and they had hired the Mayor Cares had hired someone to look after her. This poor girl, a little nurse, would follow Dolly everywhere just to keep track of her. But Dolly would not slow down. She was still making us toast and doing all these things. Finally, she sat down, and I said, Dolly, Zoe, I was by myself. I said, Zoe's going to come in the summer. We're so excited that we'll see you. And she smiled very happily, and she said, I don't think I'll be here. She just kind of giggled and laughed. And of course she wasn't. She passed away that summer. But and there's also who we celebrated. It might have been actually at her birthday party, because we had a little birthday party for them. Anyways, lovely memories of two lovely, wonderful people. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. Jamie, thank you so much. Wonderful. Like the Bujave on piano in Nashville.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. Thank you
Jai
so
Baba.
much. Yeah, Jai Baba. And when Zoe comes back, we'll hear her again. We'll hear her. Yeah, Jai Baba.
Okay.
And now we have viola. Jai Baba Viola.
Jai Baba. And I feel like I'm almost just reiterating about Dolly's jauntiness. And I remember being at Jal and Dolly's wedding anniversary, and them introducing and talking to each other, and the ribbing of each other. Dolly ribbed as well as Jal. And people mentioned their home being open to us, and the feeling of being part of a huge family that Jal and Dolly could produce. Everyone at Mehrabad, every pilgrim is invited to those anniversary parties, which were so fun. That was so fun. And then at the Samadhi, I remember Dolly would come up and see someone standing in the line. Once myself, my husband, give a rose so that we could give it to Baba. I remember that very well. And I got once, though, to see another side of Dolly, which was so beautiful, and I didn't expect to see because she was so able in so many ways. One time in Baba's house, there weren't many people. She had gone into the dining room just to be alone a little bit, and I happened to wander in, and tears were coming down her face, and I realized, oh, she's missing Baba and Mara and all these gracious ones, all this beauty and love that was in these people. Anyway, I didn't stay, but I saw that from her, and also got to see something quite beautiful when I got to help in the hospital, her last hospitalization, or one of the last hospitalizations, be with her throughout the day. And when we traveled back in the ambulance, just the humanness and the love. She had her arms around my neck the whole way, just lovingness. And sometimes I wonder, these beauties of Babas, we'll miss them, and we'll miss Dolly and that feeling of family so sweetly provided. So I don't know, I just wanted to share that. Don't know, I'm sorry, I'm a little sad about it. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba Viola. What a beautiful story. Thank you very, very much. And I see no hands this time, but oh, there, Mobet. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Is it go her or me?
Yeah, go ahead. I think it's go
Muted.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you so
Hey,
much.
Baba. So in thinking of Dolly Auntie, I remember, of course, our many visits to India from early 60s in Guru Prasad when we first came to know Dolly and Jal. And I was a very young teenager at the time. And then, of course, subsequent visits to Mirabad for the Amar Tithis. And of course, her very welcoming nature, her very loving nature always had us over to their home for a meal and so forth. But this one incident comes to mind, and that goes, to speak to her meticulousness about anything to do with Baba. And so I cannot for the life of me remember where it took place. I don't know whether it was in the early days at Guru Prasad or whether it was in Mirabad at their house. But however, there was this one incident where we were spending time together, and she was sewing something either for the tomb, or it was something related to Baba's personal item, and she was sewing, and I also had was very much like to sew, so I offered to help her, and she said sure. So she gave me needle and thread, and there we were sitting. And like normally it's just, you don't think about it, but you normally to thread the needle, you would sort of put your finger to your lip and then to moisten the thread and thread the needle. The minute she saw me do that, she's like, no, cut that piece off. This is something you are sewing for Baba. So never ever touch nothing of yours should touch the thread that goes into the sewing of this, especially from your mouth. So she said this is something that she learned from Mira many, many years ago. So it just made me so aware. It makes you so much more aware of what you're doing when it concerns anything to do with Baba. So that sort of hit home with me in a big way. And I've always remembered that. So that's my memory of Dolly Auntie, but miss her a lot, and love both of them so much. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, go ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Jai Baba. And now we have Alan. Alan, Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba. I'm remembering the trip they had in 2009 to the US. Karen and I happened to be in Myrtle Beach in April, and they were there at the same time for overlapping for about a week. And we had a big birthday party for Jalo's birthdays around now over at Kim and Walter Witkowski's house. His 79th birthday. I think he's 91 coming up. And that was a lot of fun. And then one day we went to Brook Green Gardens where Bob had gone. And Jal had a bad hip. I think he had broken his leg, so we couldn't get very far into it, but we really enjoyed it. We had a caravan of about 4 cars. And then we went to this restaurant south of Brook Green Gardens. We were just following, so we didn't know where we were going. And amazingly, there was about 10 of us there, and I was sitting next to Dolly, who comes in but our old friend Ruth Rosen with her son Greg Rosen. Merely by coincidence, they had no idea they were going there, and we had no idea they were coming there. So that was very exciting for both Ruth and Dolly, who apparently been friends for decades. Eventually, Jal and Dolly wended their way to Northern California, where we are, and although they didn't stay with us for good reason, they stayed with Noser and Kathy Dadachanji, who had a humongous estate and a separate cottage for them. They were only a few minutes away. So we were essentially their hosts. And every night we would have a party over our house. And it was in April or early May, actually. And actually, Dolly was a little nervous because Katie was in the process of dying at that time. So she got very anxious that she wouldn't make it back in time to see Katie before she passed. She actually was able to make it back. But there was some anxiety on her part. And every night we'd have a party and it'd be like 70 degrees in our backyard. And I would check the weather at Mehrabad and it'd be like 106 because it's during the summer. And I'd say to Jalji, 70 degrees here, 106 at Mehrabad. He'd go, oh man, the way he does, oh man. And it would crack me up. Well, one day we had some time off. I think it was a Friday. And we got a call from Hannah Peterson. And her husband, Jim, was an elementary teacher at this school in a little place called Canyon, which is in the Redwoods, right next to where we live. And we always take all the guests there, including Shridhar and Jal and everybody. So we decided to go over there. So Karen and I and Jal and Dolly drove over there. It's about 15 minutes. It's in the Redwoods. And the school is a one-building school. And I think there's 2 classrooms. And Jim taught there about 30 years. And he had the 1st and 2nd grade. And he had prepared the kids for these people who were coming. And Dolly was in a sari, which was really interesting to the kids. They were like 6 and 7 years old. So when we came in, they started asking Dolly all these questions, why she was dressed like that, what was that dress, and so on and so forth. And they asked her what her job was in India. And she said she was in charge of RT, which cracked the kids up because they had no clue what RT was. But in any event, she explained that. And we were there for quite a while, maybe, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. There was about 16 to 20 kids. So when we left, the parking is you park right in front of the school. It's all rural, literally in the Redwoods. I mean, the entire school is surrounded, and there's a big redwoods grove there. It's magnificent. We almost couldn't get Mayor One Merchant to leave there years ago. I thought he was going to move in. But in any event, so we're leaving, and Jal had a little boy on each hand as we walked to the car, and Dolly had the other 15 kids surrounding her like a horde. It was very funny. I think I have pictures somewhere of this. And it was so touching how loving and sweet the kids were towards these 2 people. And they didn't want to leave. So they had a free day on Monday. Karen and I were working, so we weren't in charge. I think Elisa was, we had organized it, so I think Elisa had it that day, Elisa Genovese. And we asked them, what do you want to do? And they said, we want to go back to the school. So they went back to the school just to hang out with the kids. It was like really exciting for them and the children too as well, to go over to the school. So there's many stories from that trip, and but there's so many people want to talk. But I want to say that there wasn't enough room in the universe for as much fun as Jal and Dolly gave us all. Board meetings, just the fun of it all. And I want to say personally, I've always been touched after Dolly passed in 2017, when we would be in India. If we ever get back to India now, we come every December for 3 weeks. The Jal would always have us over after Artie in the morning to do the prayers at Dolly's little makeshift memorial. Anyway, Jai Baba to both Jal and Dolly, just magnificent human beings. Thank you.
Hey, Alan, Jai Baba. Wonderful detailed stories there. You said you have more to share. I see no hand this time. So if you like to, please continue. We are all eager to listen to more.
Well, Zoe's back from the
Yeah,
dog.
Zoe is back. Great.
And I never supersede Zoe. That's the one rule of the universe. Never go before Zoe.
That's right.
We'll get back. We'll get back. Thanks, Jai Baba. Sorry, we may have missed you earlier. I believe you had to walk your dog.
Yes, I did. Yeah. So, Jamie, when we came in, Jamie said he had been talking about this trip that we went on to Andhra with Oliver. And this was, I think it was Amartiti 1981 that this group of people from Kankal showed up and invited us. And I mean, I don't know how they picked who anyway. They were opening this Baba Center. And so we got caught up in going along. And then I'm not sure about Dolly. I know Rhoda Mystery found out from Dolly that we were going. And she said, oh, I've got to go because I once promised Baba once asked me to promise that the next time I had an opportunity to go to Andhra, I would go. And here it is. So she went, and I wound up spending a lot of time with her and Dolly. And one of the things that impressed me about both of them is that I think we three women were in a room in this guest house, and they insisted on giving me the bed and sleeping on the floor. So we did that. I did that. I accepted it from them. And we went around. Oliver's MO was to do house visits. So we went, there were many programs, and we went to many people's houses, and at each house we would do the prayers and we would sing the artis. And that was when I learned the artis, because I was fairly new to Baba. I didn't know all the words to the Indian artis, but I stood behind Rhoda and Dolly and did them over and over and over again. And by the time that was finished, I knew the Gujarati arti and the Hindi arti and the rest of it. And one thing I remember involving Dolly is that Oliver at one point became really overcome with emotion. And he was sort of in front of us. And
this is in the middle of a big program with thousands of people. Don't leave that out.
Yeah, right. This was not at someone's home. It was very public. And he kind of took a step back and then seemed to look like he was falling over. And I kind of went to catch him or something. And Dolly said, oh, he does this, just hold him down. So I did. I held him, kind of put my hands on him.
He was vibrating and almost convulsing on the ground at that time.
Yeah, he was. And I could feel this energy coming through his body. It was amazing. But it was also amazing that Dolly just really took that in stride. And then when he finally sort of came to himself and the program continued. So that was one thing about one thing about Dolly. And I also was remembering when Dana said how she and Jal would meet people's flights in the early days. The first time I went to India, I went alone, and I had been told, write to Arnavaz, she'll arrange everything. And I was arriving right before Christmas because I had time off then. So I got a letter eventually from Dolly saying, oh, Arnavaz is sorry she didn't respond, but we're all going to be at Mehrabad. It's Mera's birthday. So here's what you do. And she gave me these detailed instructions. When you arrive, get off the plane, go in the airport, don't respond to anybody who offers to help you, and kind of go outside and look for these signs, and, you know, just kind of walked me through how to get to where I would need to be to get a car for, or get to Mehrabad. So it was as though she met me, really. She took care of me even from a distance. And then I can recall being on that trip, being with her, with them on the back veranda at Mehrabad. And she said, you should not move here now. You wait until you retire. And then you can come live in Mehrabad. So I've held on to that ever since. We're retired, but we're still not living in Mehrabad. But I hope her advice holds for us in that case. So that's all. I could go on and on about how much I loved her, but you all did too. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba. Hey, Zoe, you can go on and on. I mean, we have time here. You and Alan, I mean, if you have things to share, continue. Because I see no hands raised.
No, James Cox has his
I
hand
see James
raised.
Cox has materialized.
As I was saying, James Cox did. Beautiful. Okay, we'll get back to you, Zoe and Alan. James, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba Prakash. I had to run out for a few minutes. That's why my screen was darkened. But the thing that came to mind to me about Dolly goes way back to the early 70s. When I first came to India in 71, I met Jal and had the idea to start a business to help raise money to contribute to the Pilgrim Center and other projects. And Jal graciously agreed to work with me and help me. And neither of us knew much about what we were doing, but I stayed with him at his flat on Forget Hill Road in Bombay. And at that time, Dolly and Katie were still working at the Japanese consulate. So Jal and I would go out into the market looking for stuff, following leads and whatnot during the day. And Dolly would go to work, and then Dolly would come home and she'd make dinner for us. And Jal and I would straggle in later in the evening. And so inevitably, Jal and I were always late coming home, and Dolly would get irritated because she would tell, before we left in the morning, we'll see you at whatever the time was for dinner, and come back. And Jal would say, yeah, we'll be back by that time. But, as things go in Bombay, it's hard to be on time. The traffic is horrible. Nobody ever shows up on time, and it goes on and on like that. So this situation kept going on day after day, and Dolly would get more irritated because we would always come home late for dinner. So one night we came home, and this was also before cell phones, of course, and there was, in fact, regular landlines barely worked. Even though Jal and Dolly did have a telephone, it was like half the time the lines wouldn't work, and the people who you were visiting didn't have phones at work. So it was really almost impossible to call and to tell Dolly that we were stuck or we were going to be late. So one night we show up like about 2 hours late, and we ride up the lift going up to the apartment, and we get up to the 10th floor. And as we come out the elevator, Jal shoves me in front and says, "You go first." So, man, when the door opened, Dolly had this icy cold look on her face, and launched into all this Parsi Gujarati, which I didn't understand, thankfully, mostly at the time. But anyway, after a while, she cooled down, and we had dinner and everything. And then the situation would repeat itself every day. The same thing would happen. And it went on and on and on. And anyway, that was one of my earliest memories of Dolly. That there were many others. But anyway, I'll let somebody else talk.
Sorry about the phone. Jai Baba. Thanks, James. You're free to share more at a later time if you so please. But at this time, we'll try to get back to Alan, who had. Alan, would you like to share more? It's up to you. And I don't hear from Alan. Maybe we'll go to Zoe. Jai Baba Zoe. You have any more? Oh, Wendy is here now. Jai Baba Wendy. We can go for it, and we'll get back to other people later. Jai Baba.
This time it's Martin.
Oh, okay. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. The first time I went to India was August 1980, and I probably met Dolly the next morning after I arrived. And after Arti, she introduced herself, and she was always sort of eager to tell you stuff. And a lot of what she said was instructive. And at that time when we went to Meherazad, it was in this little two-tone brown and beige bus. And so when we'd sit together, she was always telling history, family ties, and all these sort of insights into how to behave with Baba or how to think of Baba. And if she did something and said, "Thank you, Dolly," it would always be, "Thank you, Baba." Mm-hmm. And it was this constant reminding of how to remember Baba in all these little actions that should perform in a day. And that's what I found. That's how she behaved with me, probably because I needed the instructions. And but it was just great. And like you said, everybody knows that when you met Dolly for the first time, she would take you under her wing, and she was like a mother, endlessly. And the first time I met Jal, may have been the same morning or may have been a few days later, but it was a beautiful, warm morning in August. And he was wearing that brown uniform that they used to wear. And he said, "Hi, I am Jal." And there was a strength about his presence and how he introduced himself, but there's always that little bit of mischievousness that was just there too. And that has always remained. And the banter between the two of them, and Jal's love for Dolly, and coming home at tea time, "Hello, Dolly. This is Jal, Dolly." It was just such a beautiful time all the time. Yeah. And that's about it for now. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful, Martin. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. That's so detailed and so beautiful to listen to you. Great. And it's up for grabs. Whoever wants to share. I have three names here: James, Zoe, and Alan at this time, because I thought you had more to share. beyond what you did so far. So anybody is welcome.
I don't know if I have actual stories, but I mean, Dolly and Joel were just such huge parts of our life when we were new to Baba. And um, yeah, that what Joel was saying before about you'll have so many children, I really felt that we were some of the children because they treated us like family. They treated everyone that way. I can remember when they had the housewarming for that new house, and we were there as pilgrims, and we we didn't expect to be invited, but we were, and we were so included, and it was just a lovely thing. And they were always like that. Oh, come in, have tea, you know, have something to drink, have something to eat. Um, would you like ice cream? Let's stop for ice cream. Um, so that's the thing about Dolly. She was just such a loving presence, and at the same time she was a strong woman. She was no pushover, and she was a good model in that way for me, of somebody who knew exactly what she wanted to have happen, and she would probably make sure it did happen, but in such a sweet way. Yeah. So
She knew from Baba and she knew from the ladies where the lines were, and she was very gentle, but she made sure we knew where the hell the lines were too.
yeah, don't put your hand there. Yeah.
You stay within them. Yeah.
Yeah. Jai Baba, thank you.
I mean, Martin mentioned the same, that motherly and protective instinct, and being great hosts. So wonderful, wonderful job. Thank you so much. And who else is next? Oh, I see a hand here. Wendy is back, or Martin.
This is Wendy this time.
Okay.
I remember one trip when we were there. It was when Dr. Goher passed, and Dolly was quite adamant that Martin and I should be at Marizad. Like a lot of the people have said, when she wanted you to be somewhere, she got you there. And I remember being so incredibly nervous, and she just, this is it. And then she, Jal and her came in a vehicle and picked us up from the Pilgrim Center and took us there. Once Dr. Goher had been laid on the, forget what the God, what do you call it? In where we used to hear the stories for marriage, Mundley Hall, sorry. And just being there, but I can feel her arm on mine. When she wanted me to be somewhere, you knew it. It wasn't, a mean thing. It was so gentle, but so powerful. And yeah, all the time that I had with Dolly, and I had a lot of time with her, so grateful. I learned so many things about how people have said, no, you don't do this. This is the way you work to be respectful of Baba. And but always so gentle and so sweet. And yeah, and I'll never forget her garlic bread ever. Anyway, thanks for listening, Jai Baba.
Beautiful, wonderful stories. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Jay Papa. And now we have Jeff. Jay Papa Jeff.
Well, I've got a lot of things I could say, and so many times spent the beautiful thing about Dolly is she was, even though she was Eastern, she could fit very well in with the Westerners. I mean, she kind of knew our culture very well. I don't know, maybe she picked it up from James Cox living with them, but so knowing this, we being at Mehrabad, especially back in the early years, we and it was at the Pilgrim Center. They really didn't offer you any desserts. I mean, that was like a desert for desserts. And so I got this idea, and on the way back from Mehrabad, from Merazad, to stop the bus in town, and there was one ice cream place. And the thing is, it had to be done fast. I mean, I had to kind of get her okay to stop the whole bus, get all of the orders in advance, and get the money so that we could shoot off the bus, get these kids along with me, and we'd get all of the ice cream bars. There were either the Choco Bar or the Mango Bar. And so we'd shoot out, and then we'd be back within about 2 minutes. And then the whole bus would get all, ice cream. And this is fine as long as I got one for Jal. So I always had one for Jal that she would bring back to him. But she was so game for these things, even though she was, one side of her was very strict, but she was up for it. So we got to, 3 times a week, we would be getting this ice cream. And sometimes there'd be 3 buses, and so we'd come out there, and the kids would all go to the bus, where we were, because that was the bus that was going to stop for ice cream. Anyway, she was like, both of them were so much a part of our culture as much as their culture. I mean, that's a lovely thing, and that brotherly, sisterly feeling was, just what Baba asked for from his old timers. They took us in, we're a bunch of ragamuffins and everything, and they took us in, and as you all have said, and made us feel at home and part of the same family. So that was just one thing that I thought of.
Hey, beautiful Jeff, as always. Thank you very, very much. Jai Baba, Jai Baba. And now Meherchan has more to share. Wonderful. Jai Baba.
Oh, Jai Mer Baba. I forgot to mention a few things about Jolly whom I missed. Because firstly, Jal and Dolly they used to stay in opposite building. So they met in 1951, their love blossomed, and they married in 1956. And Jal was not much keen about Baba, but Dolly was right from the birth. She was born in Dada Chan family. So she had so much love for Baba. And she made, and Jal's family is a Dastur family, means priest family from Parsi, except Joras, no one, but still Baba just pulled him to his fold. And Dolly was very meticulous. Our endeavor was all Baba lovers should do the prayer in English, even if doesn't know the language. Suppose a Hindi person doesn't know English, or a Telugu person doesn't know English. Let them to be. She used to always ask them to write down the English prayer in Telugu or in Hindi and to repeat along with everyone, because that's Baba's original Baba. She always used to say, it's an original prayer Baba has given. You should meticulously follow Baba's original prayer and not in the translation prayer where you lost this thing. She was meticulous. And she also, in early days of her caretaking during the Mehrabad, she was meticulous about dress also. She wants Baba's Samadhi should be respected as if you are in front of Baba, and dress code should be very particular. Especially, she used to tell the South Indian ladies to wear the pallu, and so that your neither the body should not be exposed, like the middle part should not be exposed. So she was very meticulous about this, and she has visited most of the places in Andhra, almost all places. There is no place which has not visited in Andhra. She was popular among the Andhra Babler as a Aarti auntie. They used to call Aarti auntie, and she is very meticulous. She used to help people. She used to always say the young boys who come, they say, please do Aarti twice a day, do Baba's prayer, do this thing, he will help you. And in fact, she used to tell my son also to do the Baba's prayer and all that. She was so adored by, she used to, because Baba once said, you don't bother for the about not having children. You have so many children. And like that, she used to treat even the elder person like me or my son in the same way as if we are a kid. Her, her love for Baba was so much, so this thing. And the way she meticulously took the last days of Mansari and Jalu and Gulu, wow, really hats off to Dolly's love. She meticulously used to inquire personally, used to take the care, used to tell the servant maids who used to be there with meticulous instructions, and she always to be present when on the message is to come to the samadhi, and such a way she loved and served this thing. And my intimacy with her was so much. Even my nearest family member did not love me so much as Dolly Auntie used to love me so much. And I always used to, during the May 20th, the Samadhi and all the hostels used to close. And I used to stay with Jal and Dolly, and the amount of and she always used to prepare the mango ice cream, because she's Meramai used to like that mango ice cream a lot. So she used to prepare mango ice cream for Meramai's day on 20th. I love that's a natural homemade food. Means that there is some wooden box used to be there. There a machine used to put the milk and mango and just do ice cream from that. And so meticulous, so much love she deserves. Sometimes I feel the way the women mandali and all other loved me, and sometimes question myself whether I really deserve so much love. It is all because of Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Wow, Merchant, that was really touching. Very beautiful. Now I'm falling in love with mango ice cream now. Wonderful, wonderful. And now we have Marvin and Michelle with more. Jai Baba.
Um, Jay Baba, I just want to, talk about, you know, her lovingness and her firmness. And also, I don't know who was talking earlier, but it reminded me of cleaning the samadhi and how her attention to detail was so meticulous, down to how to wipe down the threshold. You take the cloth, you wipe it down, then you fold it. So the dust that would be on the threshold would be on the inside, and then you wipe it again and you cast off the cloth and you get a clean one for the next task. And how when you're doing the gold letters with this I guess it was a sheepskin feather duster, very gently wiping down all the letters, and just so. And she was so clear and so loving. And the other thing, after tea at her home, Dolly was always dressed in a sari in the morning, and then she would come home and put on her Punjabi, and then right before it was time for prayers for Arti, she would go and dress back into her samadhi, into her sari, before going to the samadhi. And it's just so beautiful, her love and her dedication to all of us. So, and to Baba especially, and sharing herself and her knowledge and her way and Baba's way with us. Jai Baba, that's all I have to say. Jai Baba.
Thanks, Michelle, again. Loving and firm, that's what also she, when once I noticed a bunch of guys coming down in shorts, and there was Dolly who would just send them back and say, go back and just wear proper attire and get in. So that was her way of trying to maintain the decency around Baba. Yeah. beautiful, beautiful. And what else? I mean, let's see. Anybody with more to share? I mean, it's about 1 o'clock and 10 minutes past 1 o'clock, actually. Yeah. We are on till 1:30, so we have 20 more minutes as long as you have things to share. Uh, Anybody is welcome at this time. Well, yeah. So, anybody? I see somebody's picture show up. So, well, I mean, in that case, we'll just thank you everybody for your beautiful, loving, and touching stories. And it's great that you all remember every detail. Sometimes I wonder if I can. I mean, I don't usually. But you've been just wonderful and great to be with Baba and to remember the service that Dolly and Jal and everybody have offered to Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki
Baba
jai.
ki jai.
Yeah, you all can unmute
Mayor
yourself.
Baba Ki
Jai.
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 Avatar Meher
Meher
Mayor
Baba ki
Baba
jai.
ki jai.
Jai Baba. Thanks again.
Avtar Meher Baba ki jai.
Thanks everybody. Avatar Meher Baba.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
morning.
Really
It's
good.
beautiful.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Baba, thank you so much for hosting.
Jai Baba. You all. Thank you.
Good to see everyone. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba. And thanks to all those who joined us from India. And you know, it's way past the bedtime.
Mm.
Great, yeah. Yeah, Jai Baba. And wonderful Meher Chand, very touching
Oh,
stories.
Jai Meher Baba.
Yeah.